you want a revolution? Well, you know, we all want
Dirty and barely ethical. I love it. Ivan comes from Michael Taggart's team, and so we know, even Taggart's going a little bit white hat. This is still the black hat guy, and I think, like I said, you're going to be dubbed probably the new dirty diver.
I'm glad to carry the torch.
All right, so give it up for Ivan.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. I'm not going to get up on stage. There's just no point. But actually, I want to tell you a funny story. When I got invited to this event, I was sitting in front of my computer. I'm going to tell them the story if you don't mind. So I'm sitting in front of my computer. Up comes this a Skype message from Dory. It says, "Hey, you want to come to the event and speak at it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love that." And then she's like, "Awesome, you're one of my fags." And I'm going, and then there's like a 2-second silence. Nothing's coming through, and I'm like, "Okay, how should I interpret that? Is that like, you're my main motherfucker? Is that like lesbian speak for that? I don't know." But I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll take that." And then you jumped in there and you said, "Fabs." So I'm a little disappointed, actually. Anyways, my name is Ivan Budimir. I am Canadian, and I live in Vancouver, BC, and I do black hat. And today we are going to be talking about the black hat stuff. Now, I struggled to come up with a presentation that everybody will be able to walk away with, because you guys do all different kinds of stuff. We have people who do affiliate marketing, we have people that are doing local, we have people that are doing their own SEO, different clients and whatnot. And so rather than actually give you like a solid, full-on strategy doing black hat stuff, I was just going to give you a whole bunch of little things that everybody can take away and do something with. At least, everybody's going to get at least something out of that. So let's get started. Couple of disclaimers. I know this is like really boring stuff, puts everybody to sleep, but I do tend to piss off a lot of people in the SEO community because I talk about things that tend to work. A lot of things that people actually use all the time in the SEO and make results with, make money with. And so when I share these things publicly, they tend to stop working because then everybody else starts using them, and before you know it, Google changes their algorithm, and then we have to create new courses and sell and make money. I really fail to see how that's a bad thing. But if you're one of those people, then tough noogies. We're about to share some really good stuff out here. I will actually. It's the second thing. It tends to mess up the results if I share the URLs and specific examples. So I'm going to try and not to share too much of that sort of stuff. If you want to buy me a beer, I drink Heineken, and maybe we can discuss things like that. It does get me into trouble every once in a while. I was at TNC earlier this year, and I spoke about a method that I figured out how to game Yelp and Google for posting fake reviews. Pseudo account reviews, I'm sorry. And I spoke about it. It was a full room, 2,000 people out there, and somehow I never clued into the fact that I'm in San Francisco, which is where Yelp is located. It wasn't even 2 weeks later they just stopped working for Yelp altogether. It still works for Google like a damn. So I'm not going to talk about that specific thing, but if you guys want to find out how to game Google, I can definitely talk about it. I tried to cut my presentation a little shorter today because I wanted to make sure everybody gets enough time to talk about their stuff too. But I will, if there's enough people really interested, I do have a website. I just revamped my personal website, and I have a little section that I made Google not index by asking people to actually log in. So, and it's free, doesn't cost anything. If there's enough people that want to actually hear how that's done, I have a couple of hands going up there. Holy crap. Holy shit, okay. Okay, fair enough. Go to my site, I'll give you the URL. Log in there, I'll actually have a little post in there in the members only area. Again, it's free, doesn't cost anything, and I'll show you how to do that stuff.
Give it a great pick.
Awesome. It's ivanbudimir.com. My first name, my last name. Let me go back to that, which is right there in the corner. Ivan Budimir, and then you add a .com to it. There's no dashes, no spaces. All right. And what was the third disclaimer? I don't want to move this slide because I know people are going to get upset if they. I do have my domain name actually show up a few times through a slide, so I'm just going to skip past this part. And yeah, the continuing availability of the following methods will depend on you guys not sharing it with a crap load of people. Madre de Dios, if I had a cent for every single time I shot myself in the foot and everybody else shoots me in the foot, yeah, I'd have a lot of pennies there. But
You said go to the site, you said log in.
yeah, just log in. So you can create an account out there. It's free, it doesn't cost anything. All right. Okay, so let's get into some cool stuff. First of all, a lot of you guys already know how to rank YouTube videos, so I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of that, but I will tell you one thing is getting enough views to your video, especially within the first 24 hours, you probably already know is a crucial ranking factor. But even continuing to get those views. Now, there's a lot of websites out there that will sell you those views for cheap. If you want to know how to get them for free, here's how you do it. I have a little script that I created I'm going to share with everybody. Actually, I already posted it on my site. You can download it right away if you want to. It basically runs on iMacro. iMacro is a free add-on for Firefox. And it allows you to essentially click on things and type things into a browser, and it'll record what you do so you can play it over and over again. Well, you're not going to have to record anything. I created a little macro for you guys, but you will need to install iMacro add-on for Firefox. I've made a shorter URL out here for those of you guys who can't see it. There it is. But if you just go to Google and type in iMacro into a search engine, it'll actually spit it out number one. The next thing you need to do is you need to create a free account at youlikehits.com. This website, I love that website. Essentially, this website, what it does is it allows you to accumulate a certain number of points by clicking on other people's tweets and retweeting them and liking stuff on Facebook. Actually, they used to have Facebook stuff. I'm not sure if they still have it. Viewing other videos and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then you can take those points and then exchange them for having views to your videos and tweets and retweets and a whole bunch of social signals. Very useful website. The only problem is that they have a strict no bot policy. So naturally, I made a bot that you can download at this address and the third line. I actually was going to show you how to set it up. So it's ivanbudimir.com/SEO-rockstars. This URL is going to come up a few times in the presentation as well. But yeah. So essentially, it's basically a section that has everything I'm going to be putting in here that I already have there, and I'm also going to be adding related to the SEO Rockstars event. This is what a script looks like. And I was going to show you how to modify it, but in order to save the time, I'm not going to get into that. I've already made a video, and I just posted it last night, so you guys can go ahead and watch it, see how to grab the script, modify it, and run it so that it works with your account. All right, unlimited local IPs. Now I'm going to show you in a few minutes a cool little trick for doing local SEO as well as local reputation management, but it leverages the usage of multiple IP addresses. Real IP addresses, not some scammy looking sounding proxies that strip away your personal usage data, and so then when you hit a website goes, well, where is this data? Obviously this is a proxy. These are real IP addresses. Very simple stuff. Anybody can do it. Take your mobile phone, turn it into a Wi-Fi hotspot. I know most Android will do that, and I'm assuming that the new iPhone does the same thing. Depends on the carrier. Sounds like you may actually have to unlock your iPhone or jailbreak it. Is that how they call it? Yeah. But I mean, having one of those phones, I didn't have to unlock my phone in order to do this, but if you have one of those carriers, I think it's well worth investing 10, 15 minutes into actually jailbreaking your phone. Is that actually illegal in states? I heard that it is illegal. I'm from Canada, so no? Yes? Yeah, okay, thank God. Yeah, exactly. But anyways, this is really powerful stuff because all you got to do to get a new IP is turn it off, turn it back on. Bang, you get a new IP. Each and every cell tower has a huge amount of IPs dedicated to it, and odds of you nailing the same IP all over again because it gets issued every single time it's requested are pretty minuscule. It's a good idea to still check to see whether you got the IP, just whatismyip.com, to see if you got the same IP. If you got it, then try it again. And also clear your cookies between them. So just a little simple trick that you guys are going to want to use this, and let's show you how to use it. So local SEO and local reputation management on crack. There's this great little site that I discovered that is just perfect for this sort of stuff. It's called topics.com. Topics.com is one of those sites, you may have seen it before, you may have heard it. It actually has, it's a global site, but it has a page for each and every major city in the Western world. And it ranks like an SOB for all kinds of local terms. And the reason why it ranks is because it has two different features built into it. Number one, it has a news feed that is recognized by Google as a news feed, so it gives it huge newsworthy authority. And the second is it actually allows users to comment on the news. But here's the catch. The users don't have to be logged in order to comment. Anybody can just go to topics.com, see something they don't like, and then just troll all day long without ever giving their email address or any of that sort of stuff. So naturally, people do exactly that. They actually go to this website and they see these news and they actually start talking about it. Well, as you guys probably know, comments are a good ranking signal for Google. They like this sort of stuff. And so you can leverage that on topics to get other people to do the SEO for you. If you do this right, I'm going to show you how to do that. So for example, Sacramento, if you just type in Sacramento topics, it'll actually bring this page up. And they'll actually have two different pages up there. One is going to be the news feed, and the other one is going to be just the forum. What you want to do when you want to rank your local client is set up a keyword that they're targeting, and then the actual city name. Although oftentimes you don't even have to do that, because if you're putting it in the right form, if you're putting it in your city form or your client city form, it will rank based on the fact that it's within the proper form. There's a couple of things that you will need in order to rank this properly. Here's actually an example of a client that we did a while back. I'll tell you a story of this. This is kind of funny. I ranked this guy for oil tank removal on his own site, ranked at #1. He was happy. It would just like double his business real quick, and he was super happy. And then he came up to me and he says, well, what else can we do? Starting to get greedy, obviously. So what else can we do? So I said, well, one thing we could do is we can actually start dominating Google with your results. And he's not a client anymore, so actually he's no longer on ranking as well as he used to, if you check now. But if you go ahead and if you type in oil tank removal Vancouver, you would see him #1. And then I thought, well, why don't we actually start with something different, something that I haven't done before, because I thought this was going to be a perfect experiment with topics. And so I typed in oil tank removal, and I noticed that topics is already ranking for that. In fact, there was a lot of bad vibe in the topics about oil tank removal, because there's a lot of shady businesses out there that will say, well, this is going to cost you $1,000. And then they'll pull out the tank, they'll do the soil testing, they'll maybe squirt a little bit of oil into the soil and say, oh, you need the soil remediation by law, and it's going to cost you $100,000. And a number of businesses have been actually caught doing that sort of stuff. And so when you have a website where everybody can post a comment without saying who they are and not even logging in, immediately everybody starts talking about that and saying, those guys are all scammers, stay away from them, yada, yada, yada. And this post exploded. It was like, I don't even know how many, 20 pages deep or something like that. It was crazy. So knowing that Google does not like to rank duplicate listings of the same site, first we need to do is we needed to remove that one. So I found this lawyer agency in Vancouver that didn't actually have an email on their website, which I thought was perfect. It was just like a shitty little lawyer firm. So I created a letter, used their logo from the website, put it on the sheet of paper, and sent a cease and desist. Are we actually? This is on tape.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Can we bleep this out?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're just kidding.
So yeah, a totally hypothetical situation. So I sent him a cease desist letter, and lo and behold, 5 weeks later, that page was actually removed. Now they 301'd it to their homepage. They 301 every single page that they remove. They 301'd it to the homepage, so it continued to rank for a while, but there was no relevancy there anymore. So I knew it was just a matter of time before it drops off, and sure enough, within a few weeks, it started to go down. So in the meantime, what we ended up doing is we created our own page, and we named it Oil Tank Removal. And we started out by actually creating a number of posts in there. Oh, these are the ranking factors. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the ranking factors for topics. You need to have keyword relevancy. If you go ahead and you put oil tank removal Vancouver or just oil tank removal, it's going to be relevant. Okay? We have a hand go up. Yes, it will be. You need to have locale. That means it has to be relevant to that specific geographic area. And by placing it within the appropriate form that you can find by typing in your city name and then topics, you can actually get the locale. And one thing that's important for locale is the IP addresses of visitors that are actually going there and posting stuff adds to the credibility in Google's eyes, because Google actually has so many different ways of measuring where the traffic is coming from. They have Chrome, they have Android, they have analytics. I'm not sure if Topics uses analytics or not, but if they are, then Google's definitely getting that data. And so what you want to do, and this is something we discovered actually last year, is you can have local traffic hitting a specific website, and the fact that it's local IPs is going to make that website rank higher in that area. In fact, it even goes to the point where you can really delineate, like, I live in Vancouver, BC, Greater Vancouver, but in reality, I'm like in this really small town, really, really tiny town. And I noticed that certain things will rank way better in my area than they do in Vancouver, just like 30 miles away. And the reason for that is, once we tested that, is because there's a lot more searches for those specific terms in my area and click-throughs than there are in big old Vancouver. And Google knows that. They can actually see that. So by you placing the thing in the appropriate forum, people from that area that are hanging out on topics.com are going to be going to that forum in the first place. You're going to be getting those natural IP hits to begin with, which is really, really awesome. The intent has to be there, and the user response. Let's talk about those two things, how you fake those. The intent, so here's the post that we actually posted with this guy. I created a pseudo account, logged in as James Bodnar, actually created an account on Topics. You can't do that, you don't have to, but I wanted to look a little more legit. And so I just said, hey, can anybody recommend a good contractor? This is how you get the intent. The intent behind a keyword, if somebody is looking for oil tank removal, they probably want to remove their oil tank. And so when you're typing stuff into Google, you have to make sure that you're going to satisfy the search intent behind the user. So my rationale is that if I create a post where somebody else is asking the same question as me as a user typing those keywords in, chances are that somebody on that thread has answered that question for me, and I would be that much more likely to click on that link than maybe my contractor's link, because if I go to my contractor's website, he's going to say I'm the best guy in town. Whereas if I click on this link, somebody else has asked the same question as I did, I get third-party validation. That is much more, this is something that I'm going to actually count as good. I'm going to trust those reviews a lot more than when a contractor says I'm the best guy in town. But you can fake these, so that's perfect. So go ahead and ask a question. My wife and I are selling our place. You need to make sure that it's obviously sounding legit, that there's a backstory to it. We're selling our place, and we essentially have to remove our oil tank. It's a bylaw. We had an offer. We got to move before this whole thing falls through. So who would you recommend as a good contractor? And I have the actual keyword in there as well. Recommended oil tank removal. Now the word Vancouver is not attached to the oil tank removal, but it's right in there, and Google can see that sort of stuff. So that's all I really need in there for the intent. And then the user response. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. In fact, let's not read this. I'm going to post this. Do you guys want to see this entire conversation okay. I'm going to post this, and I'm going to cut a little video about how this conversation went and why it went this way. These are the other replies that have prepared ahead of time. The goal is that you want to populate the 20 posts on the first page of Topics. After that, it actually defaults to the page number 2. So if anybody ever objects and recommends their best oil tank removal guy, I don't care, because users that do the search on Google, click on this link, are not going to go past page 1 on Topics. So it works fine. So what I need to do is I need to control the conversation. Now here's the key. What you want to do is you want to troll a little bit. You want to be that guy. Or at least some of those answers, they need to be a little bit trolling. Why? Because topics are very polarized. And if you have polarized conversations, it'll draw other people in there, and they'll say, no, you're an idiot. These guys are hardworking guys, and they're putting money into the economy, and a lot of them are honest, and few bad apples will taint the whole basket. You're an idiot for calling this person an idiot. No, you're an idiot. Those guys are all scammers. Yada, yada, yada. Essentially, what you're doing is you're creating a little bit of a polarized conversation. Now, don't go out there and overtly flame people and use bad language, because they will actually remove posts like that. But create a genuine conversation. One of the things that I did is I actually asked, hey, what happened to the original post? I noticed there was a post here in Topics that disappeared. oh, I think that there was litigation between a client and the contractor, and I think that they were being threatened with a lawsuit, so they probably removed it. Oh, here's a screenshot of the original thing. I blurted out the names of the companies, but yeah, you can see that it was very, and then it picked out like the most polarized part of the conversation so people can click on. And then somebody else chimes in like, why'd you blur that? That's just stupid. That doesn't really help anything. So the whole point is fill out the rest of the first page once you have answered the first guy's question. So you log in as an asker, you ask a question, who's a good guy? I would recommend this guy. In fact, it's a good idea to recommend up to 3 people. Your guy needs to be first. Recommend up to 3 people so it doesn't even look spammy on top of that all. Most people are going to call the first guy anyways, okay? And then you just fill the rest of that page. If you let that alone, you let it percolate for a month or 2, enough people will jump in there and you're actually going to get your rankings without ever having to do anything. Now here's the do's and do not do's of topics. Do not use proxies when you go ahead and post stuff on there. Use unique IPs. Every single time you use an IP from the actual locale, that IP, Topics will take that, it'll check that IP against the address, and it'll post what area you're in when you're posting stuff. So if I actually tried using proxies with some other stuff, and it would just show as unidentified proxy. So it would say my name, my last name, and then underneath it says unidentified proxy. If you actually use the real IP that you're posting from, it's going to show the area that you're currently in. And if you're posting from Sacramento, it's going to say Sacramento underneath each and every one of the posts. Just make sure that you change your IPs every single time. Liam?
I was going to ask, do you know, is it the same thing with the dongle and the laptop when it comes along and you reassign the different dynamic IP?
The question is will the dongle help for you? No, they actually look at IP addresses. You can change your internal network IP, but that's not really going to do anything. You need to actually change the real IP. I tether my phone, and if I need to, I can even drive around town with my laptop for a day, charge handsomely the client for all that work that you do. But I'll drive around town and I'll keep on turning my phone on and off, and so I get an address, in Vancouver, I get a few in Surrey, I get a few in Langley, and so on and so forth. Yes? Yes, actually, great for pointing that out because I forgot to put that in the slide. So you want to clear your cookies between each and every change of persona and start anew. Heck, it's even helpful if you change the browsers too. But to clear your cookies, there's one particular type of a cookie that's very persistent. It's called a flash cookie. 2 different ways to clear it. You can type in clear flash cookies into Google. It'll take you to a Macromedia site that then has a button that removes it, and it's cumbersome. There's a great plug or add-on for Firefox called Proxy Tool. You guys might want to write this down. It's called Proxy Tool, and it's made by Robert Rade, R-A-D-E. If you find that plugin and install it, it allows you to control proxies on your computer, but that's not why I use it. I use it because it has a clear all cookies, and it actually clears the flash cookies as well, the most persistent type of a cookie. And Google actually uses flash cookies, and I think Topics may be using them too. Every single time I need to change a persona, I just right-click on that, clear all cookies, bang, restart a browser. No, actually, I don't want to use private browsing mode when I'm posting these reviews because I want it to appear legit. And that's why I'm using real IP addresses, and that's why I'm always just changing the change the IP, change the browser, clear the cookies. Then it looks natural. It looks like a real person logged in. Because the browser can be queried for a number of different pieces of information when you arrive at a website. And if you're trying to scrape that piece of information, then it's like you walking into a bank with a ski mask on saying, I want to make a deposit. It just doesn't make sense. So it's probably a much better thing to just walk in like you normally would walk into a bank and say, I want to make a deposit. And you do that by using legit addresses, IP addresses, legit browser, legit everything.
Can you do that through a software called Hide My Ass?
Hide My Ass scrapes, removes a lot of that identifying data. So again, that's like walking with a ski mask into a bank. Be as real as you can, especially with topics, because it's so easy to game. You don't want to miss it out. The problem with topics is that short of sending them a cease and desist letter, which worked for me once, I dare anybody to pull it off again. We'll see. I don't know. So right now, they seem to be pliable to that sort of a removal of stuff. But once you post it, you can't modify it. You can't remove it. So be very, very careful about what you post. That's why I say I'll create a whole conversation, the whole 20 posts, in Word ahead of time. One last thing you want to do is don't copy and paste them. Now you have them in Word. You're ready to go actually start posting stuff. Don't copy and paste into topics. Never do that. Just retype it. But have a conversation ready. Occasionally, you'll find somebody else hop in on there, and they'll actually post stuff in between there. Not a biggie, as long as you're controlling the majority of the conversation and populating that first page. Typically, what you want to do is you want to do about a half a page on the first day and then a half a page on the next day. Don't blast it all out at once, otherwise it's going to look unnatural. And then finally, when you're posting this stuff, every single time you post in the forum actually has a live feed on the news part of the topics. So when you go to topics news, it's going to have the latest news for your city, and then it's going to show the latest 5 trending posts from the forum underneath. There's going to be links underneath it. They're due full of links. If you keep on bumping that every once in a while, all you got to do is just go ahead and ask another question on page 2, page 3. That bumps it back up on the top of the news page for that thing. Transfers PageRank juice makes it rank a lot higher. Once it starts ranking and trending in the first place, you're going to get the click-throughs, which I'm going to show you how to manipulate as well. And then it just basically feeds on itself. It's a super easy thing to rank. Yes?
Are the flash cookies by browser, or it's just one flash cookie on the machine?
Flash cookies are by the website that you're visiting. They don't sit inside the browser flash or inside the browser cookie directory, which is why they're so difficult to remove.
If you clear it using Firefox, you're good with Chrome.
Yes, that's the idea. They actually, I believe they're stored someplace in the some Adobe folder because it's Adobe Flash. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Exactly. It's a one-stop solution for all cookies. I actually do one extra step when I'm clearing my cookies. I do Control-Shift-Delete. That brings up a dialog box that allows you to choose what types of stuff you want to remove. Now, you could clear your cookies over and over again. That thing is always going to say you want to clear these cookies, so it may give you a false impression that there's still more cookies on your computer. Don't worry about it. I'll still do that just because I'm a paranoid motherfucker, but if you guys are feeling confident about it, then just don't bother with it. All right. Okay, so that's user response. So you want to get a polarized conversation started, and this stuff will rank itself. Now, I'll actually put the script on. I forgot to put it up there, but if you guys want to have the script, I'll put it up on, I'll create a separate blog post about this whole thing, and it'll be in the same category as before. So that's the same URL as before. As I said, you guys are going to see it over and over again. You don't have to write it down. However, if you have any difficulties ranking this stuff, you can use the force. I'm a Jedi Grandmaster, by the way. Okay, so the force is click-through rate. Now, we spoke a little bit about it. Actually, John just touched on gave you a hint on how you can use this sort of stuff. Ormi said, don't do this, but I'm going to say do it, but here's how you do it right. So if you guys want to go ahead, and this stuff works like, you'll see results within like 24 hours oftentimes. If you have a page that's sitting on a page, if you have a listing that's sitting on a page 1 or page 2, but it's not at the top of Google where you really want it to be, you can boost it up by faking click-throughs. When people are doing a search for a specific term and are not clicking in the golden triangle, the top 4 results, that's a standout event for Google. And people are clicking down below. That means that what Google thought was a good result is not. Therefore, the stuff that's down below is probably better, and it actually starts bumping it up. Now, you need to persist with this for at least a couple of weeks. I used to say, you do it for a week or 2. It produces results, but then it starts dropping back down. If you want to keep those results up, you need to do it for about a month. So what you do is you go to a place like shortstask.com, And I'm going to actually walk you through the setup of this because ShortTask has some quirks to how it's done. So ShortTask, I love this website. I can't use Mechanical Turk myself because I'm in Canada. They only allow users from the US to use. MicroWorkers, I'll testify, that's an awesome site. This is the site I actually started using first. The difference between MicroWorkers and this one, shorttask.com, is that ShortTask, you can get a campaign started right now. If I create a campaign right now and hit start, I can get people doing their searches and clicking on my results right now. With MicroWorkers, you have to wait until your task gets approved. That's the difference. However, this comes with a couple of quirks I want to talk about. First of all, they don't have as many people as they do have on MicroWorkers. And so you want to incentivize these people a little better. This is probably common sense that you want to use on MicroWorkers as well. But one thing I always do is when I post a task, I tell them, click on a link to get paid. Adding this to get paid to the actual title of your post is going to double the amount of people who are going to be actually subscribing to your task and actually start solving it. Then in the description, do a search on Google. I'll actually elaborate a little more on it. Do a search on Google and click on the link to get paid. I'm, again, using the same thing. Now, when it comes down to keywords, those keywords are not the keywords you're trying to optimize for. Don't make that mistake. Put in the keywords that would describe your task. Think about this. There's people on ShortTask that are looking for work to complete, and use the words in there that they're typing in to find the kind of work that you're providing out here. So I'm looking for people that are looking for clicks and click-throughs and messing with Google and searches and that sort of stuff. They want simple tasks like that. So I'll describe that like that. Now, if you want to restrict the solver to just one task from this batch, you check that checkbox underneath it, and you need to check that because if you don't, then the guy's just going to keep on doing the same search over and over again, keep on clicking on the same result. And that's actually a negative ranking signal, believe it or not, because every single time they click on the thing and then they do the search again, that's a negative ranking signal. If they just do a search once and they click on your site and maybe spend a few seconds out there, that's a positive ranking signal as long as they don't go back to Google and do the same search or a semantically related search. Because that means the search has ended, and Google likes that sort of stuff. Scooby Snacks. So check this checkbox. It doesn't matter how many days you want to set it up for. I'd set it up for a minimum of 3 days, but 7 days, 14 days, however long you want it. Set it up. Now, when it comes down to location, this is hard testing that we found out. If you choose USA solvers only, contrary to what you may have heard before, I actually tested this. If you choose USA solvers only, it affects worldwide results. If you choose worldwide solvers, it does not affect USA results. Not as good anyways. Actually, there was a couple of ones that I did, and it did not produce results at all. So USA solvers every single time. I do incentivize them with a little more money, but not a whole lot. Solvers will have 15 minutes to complete the task, and then when you post the task, don't give them, I think it was John, I can't see where he's at right now, but John was saying don't give him a whole lot of tasks. Thank you. That's right on. Do not give him, like I've seen people post in there and say, step number 1, open up your browser. Step number 2, go to google.com. Step number 3, do a search for such and such word. Why? Step number 1, do a search for this keyword on Google. I mean, just munch it all together, right? Also, when you do at step number 1, one thing I'll do, this is kind of important, kind of club me over the head with this one. I always put a paragraph break before I put the first task. Because ShortTask has this little quirky little thing where they actually take the very first line of text and put it right against the title of your post. And some people will actually read that thinking that it's part of the headline, will skip the first part of the step, and it will just completely wreck the whole task. They'll be doing some stupid stuff. So put an enter, and then start or return if you're in a Mac. First step, do this. Second step, click on the link located at, say, topics.com. Step 3, confirm that you have completed this task. This is how you do it. Paste the first sentence posted by James Bodnar into an answer field right here on ShortTask. And then you give them the field right underneath it. Now, in this section out here, you're actually going to have a couple of different boxes. You get to click on the first one. The first one will actually give them the text field. There's a couple of different ways that you can get people to confirm tasks for you. One is multiple choice answer, then there's check boxes, there's radio buttons and a button. I just use the text box, it's simplest. Just tell them do this, type it in, and I know you have completed it. What do I pay them? I'll pay them up to 20 cents for each and every search and click. But that may seem a lot, but oftentimes you don't need a lot. Especially when you're dealing with reputation management, guys. When you're dealing with rep management, make a list of the first 2 pages of all the neutral results, things that they wouldn't mind to rank. Somebody was talking about that yesterday. Is it? No, it was somebody else. Was it Ezra? Okay. Ezra was saying the same thing. So make a list of all the things that is neutral to begin with, okay? And send clicks and searches to those things just to push the actual negative stuff off the first page of Google. You don't have to set up anything as far as the new stuff when it comes down to reputation management. Oftentimes, this stuff will work on its own. Now, if you're charging your rep management client $2,500 and up, and you're paying about 20 cents a click, and the company name gets about maybe 50, 100 searches, unless you're dealing with big brand names. But let's say that the company gets about 100 searches a month. You can do up to 200% of the actual number of searches for a specific term without really damaging Google. You need to ramp it up, though. Don't start out with 200%. But you can do up to 200%. So you can do 200 more searches out here. So if you're doing 200 searches a month at 20 cents, that is costing you, what, 40 bucks a month, and you're charging 2,500? It's a no-brainer. All right. And then obviously, ShortTask will charge you a little bit of money on top of that. I'll give 100 assignments, 20 cents each, and it calculates it for you. One thing you can do, though, is once the task has run for a day or two, you can kill the task even though it hasn't completed and start a new one. Because the person that had solved it once, after a couple of days, can solve it again. It's a bit more manual labor. If you don't do it, then you'll see actually the number of searches start to drop a little bit. But if you want to solve that issue, create this task out here to get it started, create another one on MicroWorkers, and that one has a lot more people that will continue to solve it over time. Also, one thing that I like about MicroWorkers is it allows you to drip feed it over time. So you can actually set the speed at which they're doing that, which is really, really nice. All right. So usage, reputation management, dealing with stuck rankings. My wife loves this word. Press release SEO. This stuff is awesome for press releases. Press releases on their own already rank quite well to begin with. They only need a little bit of a boost, and they can actually get up there really, really fast. All right, everybody's going to love this one. Who here wants to get a free Dropbox account for up to 65 gigabytes? Awesome.
Give that man a drink.
Thank you. Actually, Ormi showed me how to get up to 20 gigabytes for free. So Ormi gets a glass out of that drink. First of all, and that's the first step right there, what you want to do is you want to go to this URL out here. It's a Fiverr gig. When I say free, that's $5 really. $5 is free. Boost your Dropbox by going to this Fiverr gig right there. What they're going to do is they're going to basically sign up a whole bunch of fake accounts to your account so that you actually get a boost up to 20 gigs. Then, here's a quirky thing about Dropbox. When you're sending people to a shared folder a lot, Dropbox goes, oh, look at that. All these different IPs are hitting this dude's Dropbox account. It gives me an opportunity to put my ad up and sign more people up for my service. I'm going to give this dude a boost. I'm going to give him more account space. And so the way you do this is I never, ever, ever send attachments to anybody anymore. I just send them the Dropbox links. I have a folder that's called Delete Older Than 7 Days on my computer. You can set it up to whatever you want to set it up. And I'll put all my files that I want to send to other people into that one folder. Then I have CyberD's Auto Delete. You can download it from that link over there. Mind the uppercase, lowercase characters, and all that sort of stuff. It's a free software that allows you to automatically delete things on a specific schedule. So let's say that you can train it to a specific folder and say anything within this folder that's older than, say, 7 days, just delete it. So then I just drop stuff into that folder and I don't have to worry about it. I know it'll automatically get deleted once the 7 days is up. The problem with the software, though, is it only runs on a startup, and I don't start my computer up every single day. In fact, I'll typically restart it maybe twice a month. So you can create a scheduled task. You go to your scheduled tasks and say, run this exe file for me. And it just keeps, I see so many Mac computers in here. Shit. Do you guys have scheduled tasks on Macs? Probably, I'm willing to bet that you do. It's just that it's a Mac, so it probably hide it really, really well from you guys.
break out to the command prompt and do a contact.
You could do that. Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Being actually Unix.
Yeah. I look for it to see if there's some sort of a scheduled task. I do this on the PC, so it runs it every night for me at 2 o'clock at night. It looks for the files that are too old and just deletes them. But essentially, every single time I send a file to somebody, no matter how small and minuscule it is, I just send them the Dropbox link. They go out there, they get to see an ad, Dropbox is happy, and they bump my account up. I'm actually sitting at 65 gigabytes. They initially, it took me about a month and a half. They bumped it up to about 40 gig, and now I'm sitting at about 65 gig. We'll see if they actually keep on boosting it up from there as well. All right. Any questions about that so far? Everybody's going to like this one. Free images. All right. There's a Creative Commons license for any sort of media content that's on the web. And there's a number of websites online that have the Creative Commons license search built into them. Google Images is one of them. There's also YouTube. There's also Flickr. They have a little Creative Commons. Now what Creative Commons does, it basically just gives you the opportunity to use this content for commercial purposes without ever having to pay anybody. It's basically free stuff. Now, there's this search box right here, a search engine, that is called search.creativecommons.org. That's the URL. And it takes all the biggest popular Creative Commons websites out there, and it ties their search into its search. So you don't have to find out what the Boolean search on Google is for Creative Commons or which buttons you need to click. You simply come to this website out here. You put your search in the spot number 1. These 2 checkboxes out there. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Say, use for commercial purposes. Yay! Modify, adapt, and build upon. Yay! Check those 2 on, and then click on what you want to get. If you're looking for images, Google Images is your best bet. Every image that's going to show up in there is going to be a Creative Commons license, something that you can build up on, use for your commercial purposes without actually having to pay anybody. As Eric had stated, you probably want to flip the image left to right, but it's free, and you can find just about anything out there.
What's the URL?
URL is search.creativecommons.org.
Hey, Ivan?
Yes,
Right, that's excellent. I just want to add, the only thing you can't do is say it's yours.
that's right.
It's like a GPU.
Thank you.
The only thing you can't, otherwise you can use it, you just can't say it's your image.
That's right. And it's a good idea to check the type of a license of an image anyways, because sometimes, especially if you're dealing with Flickr, they'll actually require you to attribute the author occasionally as part of the Creative Commons license, which they can if they want to. So you could say this image was the courtesy of such and such user on Flickr or something underneath it.
Flickr itself requires a link back to Flickr.
Does it?
The user doesn't, but Flickr does, yes.
One thing that I would do in that specific scenario is I would hyperlink an image itself, make it no follow, but hyperlink an image itself so it satisfies the link, but at least you're not flashing any sort of things that they can overtly see and click on.
Create a what?
Turn that image into a hyperlink so that, yeah.
The name of the URL?
It's search.creativecommons.org. Yes?
Modify the image by putting the logo on it, like your business logo.
As long as it's not stating that it's yours. I've modified images before in the sense that I would change the colors a little bit and background. So just drop the background and turn it black and white to make it unique enough and flip it. But I never really appended any logos to it, no. But if it's set up to modify and build up upon, I think that would be a question for a lawyer. Whether you're actually, by appending a logo, whether you're actually making it yours or if you're modifying it for further use. That's the gray area.
You can take all of these images that you might otherwise need in your site and hyperlink them, like you said, to another page on your site that is like an index. So you can now show all of your images, do additional comments by the image, and at the bottom, give your attribution.
Love it. I like that. Make that page no index too. Awesome.
Couldn't hear it.
All right, so people couldn't hear it. Can somebody give him a mic? Because he's going to do that much better than I will. So essentially what he was saying is get a page on your site and then link that image to that page. And on that page, you have the attribution and the link. And I was saying make that no follow or no index.
Yeah, right. So if, that's fine. So if you want to, Corey, you wake up, Corey. Good. If you want to satisfy the legal requirements, you have to show an attribution for the creative license. You can basically set up an index page. An index meaning like a, at the end of a book, you have an index of all your resources. So you set up your resource page, you take all of your different images that you have on your site, you put a copy of all those images into this index page. You can add additional comments on that next to each image. So basically, if someone clicks on the image, as Ivan was just saying, you hyperlink it, but you stay on your own site, they go to your other index page, you can show them additional information about that image that you want them to read, and then at the bottom you're giving your attribution, and everything's no follow.
I like that. I really do. That's smart. Give the man a drink. All right. I'm going to share this something really quick. How are we doing with time?
We're good.
We're good? Okay. I'm going to share a little resource that I have built for you guys that Ezra was mentioning. I forget what the name of the video player that he used that has the little pop-up at the end of the video and whatnot. Lead player? Okay, I don't use that player. I actually use I use a freaking awesome video player that I couldn't believe it was freaking free. It's called Secure HTML5 Player. You can find it on like a page 2 on WordPress.org. It's a great player. It allows you to secure your files on S3. People can't download them off S3. They can't enumerate your buckets, but it'll still stream it to your site, and it's freaking free. The only thing it won't do though is it will not allow you to have things pop up at the end of the video. But here's a solution for that. You can double your conversion rates with a delayed action, as you guys probably already know, with a delayed action on your, say, squeeze page. Say somebody is doing a search for how to build blue widgets online, and you are selling tools that help people build blue widgets, and you want to develop a lead. So you create, say, a press release that corresponds with how to build blue widgets, and they read in there that you have some information on your site. They click on the link, they end up on your squeeze page. Now, if you have the squeeze page that has an autoplay video with an opt-in box underneath it, you're immediately telling them, I'm probably going to give you just half the story so that you're going to have to opt in to get the rest of it. And people are typically, if they're any internet market savvy people, they're not going to go there and sit through a 10-minute long video just to find out that they need to put their name and email. But you haven't sold them on why they need to drop it in there, so they'll probably walk. Well, you can double your conversion rates by not showing that opt-in box at all, by just having a training video. And in the press release, you say, there's a how-to video. So they go to the squeeze page, the video starts playing immediately, and they're like, oh, this must be the how-to video, so let's start watching it. By the time they find out they need to opt in to get the second part, they're already sold. You had a chance of presenting your case to them, why they need that sucker, and they will actually opt in. It's a little plugin I made. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. You can go ahead to the link right there at the bottom. What is a laser? Right there. SEO Rockstars. And you can download that. Doesn't cost anything. Just throw it on your site. And you can specify the number of seconds for showing up any sort of a content. It could be an HTML form. It could be an image. You name it. You could have a video that shows up later on if you want to. And if you're handy with CSS, you can even move it around the page and place it over the video if you want so. So it's a little freebie. You guys can have that. Delays the appearance of your opt-in box. All right. Next. Okay. Say this out loud.
Jacking authority.
Jacking authority. That's right. Thank you. That's very careful. All right. So this is, I had this crazy idea on about 6 months ago on one of our mastermind events that people are talking about authority, and we all know that authority in or authorship, auth stands for authorship, is something that you build through having the circles and the interaction and the whole bit, right? Well, I thought, well, what if Google were smart enough to use their traditional ranking signals and incorporate them into the authorship? What if, by having content that's already ranking quite well to begin with, you claim authorship of that content, would your authorship go up? And with that, would your content that is published under that authorship would also go up? So rather than actually go ahead and start building the authorship from the get-go, you go out there and you say, oh, Wikipedia, I own that. It's mine. And so your authorship goes up automatically with that. Now, you can't really do that with Wikipedia. I'm being silly. But there's a lot of great content out there that's already ranking for your keywords that you can go ahead and make yourself an author of that content, even though you never made it. Stuff that's old, that's been on the internet for years, and you just claim it and say that's mine. Will your authorship really go up? Well, as it turns out, it does. And I was actually talking about this at our mastermind group about a month and a half ago, sharing some results. But since then, I actually found some new stuff as well. So I'm going to be revealing that stuff for the very first time out here. Let's talk about a couple of facts about authorship. Higher authority means higher and faster content ranking on Google. That's a no-brainer. Everybody knows that. Fact 2, owning proven content increases authorship authority. That's exactly what I just said a second ago. Fact 3, there's a ton of unclaimed proven authority content on the web. Yay! Likely fact number 4, there's still some gray areas out here because we were testing. This is one of those things where I said I can't really talk about too many URLs that I've tested this with. But unconfirmed authorship still boosts the author's rank. That means that you go out there and you claim that you have created this page. Google hasn't recognized that this is your authored content. You still get a little bit of a juice just based on the backlink that you're getting from that content to your authorship page. The rel equals author link that you put back to your Google stuff, okay? That will actually build the authorship a little bit just on the backlink itself, even though it's no follow. This is a likely fact. We haven't solidly proven that just yet, but everything points that this is a likely thing. Likely fact number 5. Here's an issue. When you claim an authorship, let's say that there's a blog post, it's gone viral, it's got a page rank bazillion, lots of comments on it, whatnot, hasn't been claimed, and you create a comment in there and you put your rel author link inside. Well, chances are it's going to be rel no follow. There's a rel author and a rel no follow. 2 rels that are pointing back. Oh, Josh, I know you talked to, well, you didn't talk to Matt Cutts, but did you talk to Matt Cutts at all?
Occasionally on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, please don't tell him this.
Oh, sure.
Okay? Or don't ask him anything that might trip into the fact that this is being done either. Okay? At least until I'm done with the test and sell a course. Okay. All right. So I noticed that there's a number of pages out there where I stole the authorship. I didn't use my own, obviously. I use fake names, thank God. But I created a little authorship account in Google, and I went and found those places where you can actually post a rel link. And with some, Google recognizes the authorship and actually gives me credit, and with others don't. And the only correlation I was able to find, the difference between the two, is the position of the rel author versus rel no follow. Because most of those are going to be rel no follow. When you think about it, you're commenting on people's blog posts, you're commenting in forums, and you're claiming authorship of those pages, it's probably going to be a no follow link by default. That's how the CMS works. And if you have the rel author coming after the rel no follow, it seems to override the previous one. If the rel no follow comes after the rel author, you're probably not going to get your authorship set up. But you'll still get juice from it sent to your authorship, we think. Okay? So this is like, the paint is still wet as far as how new this stuff is. Unlikely fact, we have no freaking idea how this works, and it just works by luck. But essentially, here's how you do it. What you want to do is you want to take any of these Boolean searches, and this is for those of you guys that like to do churn and burn. So let's say you want to get into the new niche, and you want to use authorship as means of ranking your content really, really quickly. Well, you need to build that authorship real quick, and the only way to do it is rather than actually create content is to find stuff that's already has a high page rank, stuff that already has been proven on the web, and just claim it's mine. So what you do is you do any of these searches out here. These are Boolean searches that you do in Google, and you put in the keyword, which is a denominator of your niche. So if you're selling blue widgets, you would type in blue widgets, right? Essentially, that's the keyword that describes your expertise. And you're looking for content on the web where you can actually post this sort of stuff. You can also append a couple of variants in here so that you can remove the pages from your listings, such as topic is locked, which means you can't actually post anything within that topic. Or Amazon.com, a lot of times you're not going to be able to create comments on Amazon posts and that sort of stuff, create authorship of those, if you haven't bought anything. So you can't post reviews or anything like that. But essentially, all you do is in the little website field that you're oftentimes allowed to put in when you're posting any content, you put your authorship link in there. So google.com / whatever your number is, # equals rel equals author or something like that. I forget what it was. So essentially, you're jacking authorship, jacking off on the web and boosting yourself up. And with that, that's all I had. If you guys have any questions, thank you.
All right. Awesome, awesome. I'm sure that we have questions out there. I'm sure. And Josh is the first one.
All
Dirk,
right.
where are you? Dirk, okay, I'm running.
Hi, Ivan. Thanks very much for that. That was wonderful. I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone when I say thank you. That was great. So you were talking about press releases and using this CTR trick to, I imagine they'd search for the press release, they'd click on through, they'd read it. Do you want them to actually click through the link to the target off the
Yes.
press release?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Type in remove bad reviews. I'm number 1. It's a pseudo account. I have a really pretty face. Her name is Zoe. She's very sensual. Essentially, what I want them to do in this specific scenario is I want them to click on that, read that there's this dude out there that figured out how to game reviews, and there's a link inside the press release that then takes them to my squeeze page.
Okay, and so in order to boost the supposed link juice from this press release, they have to actually go to the press release, click through the link to your page.
No, they just need to end up on the press release.
Okay, so that boosts the
That's-
traffic. Because
that's-
I've long suspected that trending traffic would actually be a trust factor to tell them that they can trust the links on this page, one of the trust factors.
As long as they don't go back and do the same search all over again, it's fair game.
Right, because that means it failed, right? It wasn't,
Yeah.
didn't satisfy them for some
Yeah.
degree, and they couldn't click back for some reason, and so,
Also, LSI searches are also bad, like secondary search. So they go back and they don't do the same search, but they do an LSI search. That's also possibly a bad signal. Yeah, I'm not actually going to make that statement because I haven't really tested that, but I suspect that that's a bad signal.
yeah, either way, it's not good.
Yeah.
Either it's going to be a negative signal,
You haven't ended the search.
yeah, or it's going to be neutral, and so it's not going to help you anyway.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So would you say then that based off of that, that would work for any backlink page?
Anything.
Right, so you have an
Anything I
article-
tested so far has worked, except for one thing that I just threw in last night, which was Sacramento plumbing. I picked the guy at the very bottom to see if I could boost it by today. It's been up for about just shy of 24 hours. I did it yesterday morning. I went on Short Task the night before and it was out. The Short Task wasn't working. So I did it on Microworkers yesterday morning, and it hasn't budged so far. And I think I'm probably going to cancel it because it's not my client. I was kind of hoping it'd be perfect for the presentation. Oftentimes you'll see the results like within 12 to 24 hours, at least some movement. I'm guessing that this search is not as easy to push up. Maybe it's the issue of specific niche that is all more competitive. But I don't know. It's kind of hard. Here's the thing about searches. Previously, we used to have a keyword tool, and you can go into keyword tool and you find the exact number of exact match searches. That is now gone. The number of searches that you're getting with the new whatever tool is called seem completely arbitrary to me. They don't really seem to represent anything. And so it's kind of hard to gauge what is the 200% of the normal searches. So there's a little bit of a sort of like throw it in there and see what sticks. I'm guessing that even though the tool says that there's 90 searches for Sacramento plumbing every single month, I'm guessing that there's probably a lot more searches than that because it just doesn't make sense to have 90 searches, which means that I'm probably not hitting it hard enough for the time being.
Actually, you'd have to use broad search for that. In SEO for years, it said use exact search for what you're talking about there. To see the actual searches with all their synonym replacement, you'd have to use broad search, and then the number's going to go way up. Sacramento plumbing, plumbing Sacramento, plumbing in Sacramento.
Yeah.
You have to use
Yeah.
broad search for that. This is, sorry, I don't mean to hog the mic, but this is just fascinating. I have to ask a couple more questions. Okay, so on this authorship jacking, on jacking auth, yeah, oh, sorry, so back to the press release thing. Yeah, I can confirm definitely that's click-through rank spoofing or manipulation, whatever you want to call it, definitely works. I've been doing this with SEO alpha testers for some time now. And in fact, we're making an automated system to automate everything you showed there on micro workers. So yeah, so it's definitely, this is where I think a lot of black hat's going to be going, as long as we keep it quiet.
Yeah.
And one thing about Mechanical Turk is that I did hear Matt Cutts, someone said, you know, we'll use Mechanical Turk to scrape Google, and Matt Cutts literally laughed. He literally laughed out loud at SMX Advanced. He's like, yeah, we have, he said, and I quote, "We have Mechanical Turk in the bag," end quote. So you might not want to try Mechanical Turk, because at least he claims that they have it in the bag, whatever that means. But there's definitely other ways to get around that in other websites. Okay, sorry, my last question.
So what you're saying is that Google actually bought their way into Mechanical Turk so they could observe what people are doing?
Yes.
Shit.
That's why you have to do the U.S. searches, because they own Kansas, they own the internet connection. You know, the city of Kansas, they own that. So they have that. They have back end into most data providers, most ISPs in the United States. That's why they're only let it work for U.S. searches with U.S. searches, because those are the searches that they control the IP addresses more or less for.
Snaky bastards. Well, the good news is that currently short task and micro workers seem to work quite well. Unless they're aggregating data for the time being and are going to unleash some sort of ungodly fury on us within the next X number of months, I don't know. But
I don't think there's any way they could possibly penalize anyone for doing this, because it's too easy to use it also for negative SEO, which you didn't even mention.
I like the way you think.
Right? But
Give this man a beer. A beer ticket.
Thank you. But yeah, but what they will do is they're actually increase their ever-growing pool of IP addresses we don't count, right? And so that is the war of attrition on this particular black hat tactic. I don't ever see them coming back and penalizing, because there's really no way they can tell from that. They might sue, but I strongly doubt it. What they're just going to do is increase their pool of IP addresses, which they already have and already try and do from people scraping Google, right?
Okay.
That would be my speculation, knowing Cuts and
That ups
Mueller.
the ante. I'm already having some ideas on how to get around that, but that's like really black hat stuff.
And that's stuff that we need to talk about later.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll pass off the mic. I had another question about authorship, but...
Go for it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the next question then is, so, sorry, you were saying that in the comment stream, if there's no follow comments first and then a rel author,
Yeah.
it's last in, first out, you're saying? It's the last author?
One seems to it's kind of like, it seems to be just like the cascading style sheets. When you have a style sheet that says use this background, and then the next one that says same element, use a different background, the last one will override the previous one.
Right.
The results that I've been getting so far are corresponding with that, but I need to do more tests, because I have a very small number of tests that I've done so far.
And do you go into the Google Plus profile and put in the URL of where those comments are in Google Plus? Because that's what you're supposed to do to make to reciprocate the authorship markup.
I have been actually putting links directly to the page where that comment is at.
Yes, yes.
However, I'm starting to think that Google now wants us to do things differently, that they want us to actually put a link not to the actual page where the comment is, but to the actual site, and let Google find where it is and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, that would be easier.
That would be easier, yeah. I'm having, that's a possible reason for why I'm not getting some of the more recent results that I was getting earlier on. But I'm leaning more towards the positioning of the rel, because that seems to correspond more with what I've done so far. Once I have more tests, I'll definitely post it on my site.
So not only are you saying that you can jack the authorship for this particular page on our really popular forum, comments, Amazon, things like that. Obviously, the higher page rank, the better. You're saying that you can outcompete other people in this room who know about it by always having the last word, so to speak.
Pretty much, yes. If somebody actually put a, yeah, I never thought of that. But yeah, if they put their authorship after you put your authorship, hey.
I guess the only problem is that at some point, if this becomes too popular, at some point Google's going to notice there's a couple,
Oh yeah, for sure. It's black
10,000
hat. I mean,
Google Plus accounts that all say they author the same But if we just put the domain, then we're saying, hey, we're an author of this domain, and you can spider it yourself, Google.
Well, see, that's it. I don't know whether the last authorship makes a difference or the last rel author, because in the link you're going to have ahref equals, then there's the location, and then rel equals author, or the question mark rel author, obviously in the link. And then if that's followed by rel no follow, then no follow will override the author. But if the rel author in the, let me write this down. Okay, this is a little bit geeky. So we have the ahref right here. That doesn't work. So, perfect. ahref equals something in here. Anchor text.
That should be your Google Plus profile if you're doing a rel author.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you the two scenarios in here. So this is close the A. So if you have a rel no follow here, rel equals no follow. Okay, and this one out here is your authorship link, then this overrides that. However, if your rel no follow comes in here, rel equals no follow, then this rel overrides your rel authorship out on this side. The positioning to the left or to the right of the rel. And that's going to depend on the CMS.
That's great. I can tell you exactly why that works. Because in the HTML4 specification, nothing is supposed to post-see the anchor tag element except for the href attribute that is actually in the specification. So even though browsers will render the link properly because they're made to be fault tolerant because we never follow the specifications when doing our HTML, that's part of the specification. So any attribute you put in between the A and the href actually is going to be ignored as far as Google is concerned, because Google is a bunch of nerds like me and they follow the specification.
Huh.
I can say in terms of multiple authors on a page, because when we set up authorship for all 5,000 pages and occasionally put 2 of them on, it's the first author that is picked up.
Oh,
That
okay.
we've seen it. And you can see that if you use the structured testing tool. So after you do this. Also, all you need is the domain name. You don't need the page name for
Yeah,
authorship.
I was trying to speed things up, and I
So-
thought, let's just send them directly to the page. But
So you can, contributor to the domain name, and then it's the first one, and you can, they may change it because they're trying to figure out what to do with multiple authors and maybe even give multiple authors credit on a page, but you can test it with the structured testing tool to see if you show up or not.
cool. Thank you. That's awesome. Anybody else?
Give that woman a drink ticket.
So yeah, the question was,
He can say it. The question was, have you tried rel equals no file, rel equals do file, where it skips, bypass the first one, takes the second one. Yep.
I'm coming. Yeah, I wasn't aware of the dual attribute. I didn't know that.
Hold on.
Hold on just a second. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, for the camera's sake. I don't think, I wasn't aware that there's a do follow attribute to any of the links. Do we have any other questions? If you, we only have one mic right now until this is being fixed, but I can repeat your question.
Can you say anything to the Google reviews that you're talking about very beginning?
Can I say anything about the reviews?
How to do how to spoof the reviews on Google.
Oh, yes, okay. Very briefly, I have the whole thing on my site already. It's in the squeeze page, but I'll actually put it in a blog so you guys don't have to opt in. Essentially, the way it works out is that there's a high trust factor with mobile devices, essentially. So if you, and Google loves Android because it's their own product. So if you're posting stuff from a physical location where, let's say I'm posting a review for this hotel. If I'm anywhere within the very close proximity of this hotel and post a review for this hotel, heck, if I first check in and then post a review, Google's going to absolutely just eat it all up. Now, There are some obstacles to it. Originally, it was a little easier to do this. You could just go ahead and spoof the GPS signal in a fake mobile device that you run on your computer, which is what I'm doing. And then you tell Google, okay, I'm right here, and then you post a review and it stays. All my reviews are still up there, by the way, but I got a couple of reports from some of our students that have actually started doing this sort of stuff saying that their reviews are being removed. And so we need to up the ante a little bit, which means you need to start aging those accounts first. And it's a good idea to also use mobile IPs. Again, I will use my phone to tether my, my laptop to the computer, and then I'll run my virtual Android device on it. And so it's a mobile device using a mobile IP address, sitting at the location, posting a review, and it's a little bit of an aged account, so it just works. I have the software and everything that you guys need. I'll put it on that link that I had there before in the next day or two.
Sorry, I have another question for you.
Yes.
So you're breaking my brain here, Matt. Do you realize what this traffic to the press release thing means? Have you ever got a client or maybe one of your own sites that was hit with a link penalty? Did you ever try shoving a bunch of traffic to the backlinks to make Google think that, no, these are legit backlinks?
No, I never played that game. I know a lot of people did and pulled off some great results, but I never played that game.
So you know people who tried that and it seemed to work?
Yes, I mean, I heard reports of that. I never personally shook anybody's hand that said, oh, I did this and it's working.
Was it for the manual action or for Penguin?
I wouldn't know. It's been a while. It's been a while.
That'd be very interesting to know.
It would be, wouldn't it?
All right,
Yeah.
let's give a huge round of applause for Ivan.
Thank you.
And we're going to take 5 minutes.